sussing out your luck, going hard in the paint, and that's how you assert dominance.
Hey, what's up guys, it's Jake aka Tag, and we just asserted dominance with a clean 20-0. Let's jump right into the chest and hopefully we can get a magical archer for our troubles. 20-0 guys, really unstoppable. We beat so many hard counters, a lot of bait matchups, a lot of beatdown decks. People actually had like multiple spells like Fireball and also NATO. It was just crazy, man. Fireball, NATO, just clumping up all the three Musketeers, and we still prevailed. And I was just really happy to cop that W. So scrolling through the battle history, you're just going to be seeing a lot of bait decks, a lot of Pekka decks, a lot of beatdown decks, and three Musketeer decks. Those are the most prevalent archetypes right now. And as you guys can see, a lot of people are actually starting to run Zap or Arrows in their Pekka deck, because if they're running Log, they're just going to automatically lose to all the Minion Horde. You can just go in for Minor Minion Horde, they poison the Pumper, the three Musketeers, they automatically lose the game. So that's why this guy is running Zap. And a lot of bait decks are very difficult because Princess, Minion Horde, they just have so many answers to the three Musketeers. We're definitely going to have to cover that, especially since we have Zap for the barrel and we don't actually have a Log. Mirror matchup, that's something that we're going to go over. Minor Poison is pretty prevalent. This is a very difficult matchup. Dark Prince, Princess, and then also NATO, just an incredible amount of splash damage. He also had Poison too. I don't know how I won that actually. Very easy matchup when they have Log. As I said, you just go in for the Minion Horde plus Minor. And this is going to be a little bit difficult. Minor Poison, NATO. The Graveyard is an easy W. We still will go over it. Fireball decks, they're going to be increasingly prevalent. We'll have to go over those. I don't know how I 3-crowned that guy. I don't really remember what he did wrong, but he obviously made some grave mistakes. And also Golem is going to be a thing. Graveyard is pretty prevalent. Lots of Golem, three Musketeers. So at the start, yeah, people just run whatever they feel like and just pretty insane decks. And so just scrolling through guys, easy 20, no problems. And I really think that you guys can get 20 with this deck as well. It's incredibly solid. So let's go jump right into a breakdown of the deck. And guys, if you are not familiar with Three Musketeers in general, please go check out the pinned comment. It's going to link you to a video where I went undefeated in King's Cup with Three Musketeers, and it's going to break down a lot of the key concepts to mastering Three Musketeers. So with this deck, you have three cards that are primarily going to be poison bait. You have the Three Musketeers, you have the Elixir Collector, and then you also have the Minion Horde. A lot of times they're going to try to get away with just zapping your Minion Horde, and if they do that, you want to go in for a Minor, make them expend Poison, and then they're not really going to have a great way of punishing their Collector. If you ever bait out your opponent's Poison and they're running Minor Poison, all you gotta do is pump up in the middle and then hold either Bandit or Dark Prince, drop that on top of the Minor because you're able to see the pathing, and then they're pretty much going to lose the game after you defend that. And when you have an Elixir advantage with a Three Musketeers split push and you're barreling down the lane with a Bandit and a Dark Prince, because Bandit and Dark Prince are just so OP at the moment, it's going to be incredibly hard for your opponent to cost efficiently defend them. And I truly think this is one of the best decks for the 20-win challenge. So guys, let's go jump straight into my 20th game and let's start reviewing some of the replays. So jumping into this game, I actually have Elixir Collector in my starting hand. That is the best possible thing. I have Minor and I also have Ice Golem to defend my Elixir Collector. He's going to be saucing out a Flying Machine, and I'm getting ready because as soon as you see Flying Machine in this challenge, you automatically assume Pekka. He drops Royal Ghost, he applies a ton of pressure, so I'm just going to try to get away with a Minion Horde. I dropped my Ice Golem. I was hoping that the Minor would draw onto that, but unfortunately the Minor did not draw onto that initially. So a lot of times when you're defending with Minion Horde, you want to counter push, especially against this type of deck, because if they have Log, if he just had Log, best possible case scenario, I automatically take tower and he loses the game. Unfortunately for me, he had a Zap, but still, he lost to Spear Goblin Hut, and I've identified what he's running. This is a very difficult matchup because he's going to have Zap instead of Log. Log is an auto win. Zap is a little bit more even of a matchup. So Spear Goblins are going to be clobbering my tower. I leak a little bit of Elixir. I was kind of just wondering what I wanted to drop, Bandit or Dark Prince. I elected to drop Bandit. I wanted to keep the higher Elixir card just because I was able to cycle a lower Elixir card, get back to more Elixir, and get back to my pump a little bit safer, having more Elixir on defense against the Royal Ghost and the Flying Machine coming. So first and foremost, always defend your pump. Even in single Elixir, a lot of times like that Flying Machine damage is negligible. He's having to spend so much more Elixir on Zappies, defending the Dark Prince. The Dark Prince got a lot of utility. It killed the Minor, and then it also made him expend Elixir for Zappies. In all the meantime, I'm getting a huge Elixir advantage. I'm going in for a Minion Horde, and then I'm going to go in for a Minor. The reason I did that is because I knew that I would be able to kill the Zappies. Even though he wanted to Zap, I basically baited out a lot right there. There's a Flying Machine, there's a Royal Ghost, I took tower, and I'm in a huge advantage. A lot of times you got to go in for the Minion Horde against this deck, And when you have an elixir advantage, a lot of times they're going to have to poison. So he didn't actually have enough elixir. He didn't have poison and cycle. He didn't have answers. All he had were zappies. And if you zap zappies, I don't know if you guys know this interaction, but if you zap zappies and the minion horde is on top of the zappies take forever to charge back up and shoot them. And then the zappies just die. So that's a great interaction, guys. If you did not know that, I highly suggest in most situations you zap the zappies when your minion horde is right on top of them. You'll just conserve so many more minions. You'll get a lot more damage on the tower. So this guy, what is he up to? He's going to be going in for a Royal Ghost. He's going in for a Miner on top of the Musketeer. Whenever you bait out a Miner on top of a Musketeer or a tower, just pump up in the back, then they have to poison it every single time. So this guy, he's in a really bad situation, dire straits. I'm just going to be playing very, very passively. When you take a tower, do not go in for Dark Princes, Battle Ram, or Bandit opposite lane. Never really apply too much pressure. Just split 3 Musketeers in the back, play really safe and sound, and then you'll cop the W. So I did make mistakes in this 20 win. That was one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. I dropped the Ice Golem and it didn't actually pull the Pekka because I had so many units in the left or the right hand lane. That almost cost me the W, but I still ended up pulling out in the end because I had a really solid start. So sometimes I did make mistakes through this, and I will point those out the entire time, guys. So let's go jump right into my 19th win against Bait. And this guy's going to be running Princess, Minion Horde. This was a very difficult matchup, but I navigated this matchup almost perfectly, actually. So I got my Collector in my starting hand. Unfortunately, I don't have Dark Prince or Bandit. You usually want to have that when you're pumping up. I can still use Miner on defense against the Collector if he drops his own Miner. It's usually not the best play because you want to save your Miner, but he's going to be going in hot with a Minion Horde and an Ice Golem and then a Miner. So this is sometimes situational where if they have a huge amount of pressure, you can't really defend your pump in some circumstance. In that situation, he actually activated King Tower, so it worked out beautifully for me. But I still like pumping up at the start regardless if I have one unit that can potentially defend the Miner. So basically, I've already identified that he's got Miner. I saw that Ice Golem, and I saw Minion Horde. I thought for sure that it was going to be 3 Musketeer mirror matchup, and then I saw Bats, and I was freaking out. I was like, what is this deck? It's an off-meta deck. It's supreme hard counter to me, actually. Dark Prince does really well against a lot of these bait decks. One of the reasons why is, I mean, look at his deck, right? He has Goblin Barrel, he has Goblin Gang, all these squishy units, and Dark Prince just obliterates them. So it works out really well. Another thing is always pump up when you can. And unfortunately, he's going to go in for another Miner Minion Horde. What I do here is I eat up a lot of damage and just defending your pump at all costs. You guys see it time and time again. In almost every single game, I eat damage for an elixir advantage. It's pretty calculated, but you guys will, as you start playing this deck more and more, you'll understand the situations where you want to do it. And again, guys, I ate Princess damage, and then I go in for my Minion Horde. The Princess locked onto my tower, then I dropped the Minion Horde. The Minion Horde ended up, since he doesn't have Princess and Cycle, I knew that my Minion Horde was actually going to do a lot of damage. And then I went in for a Miner on top of the tower. I realized he was either going to have his own Minion Horde, Goblin Gang, or Bats, and I was hovering Zap, I assume. So I basically just took the W right there. Basically applying pressure when they don't have the counters in Cycle. Obviously, if the Princess is cycled in the back and it goes across the river, if I go and drop a Minion Horde right on top of it, what is he going to have to answer my Minion Horde? So that's kind of what I assumed. That's one of the key tricks. That's one of the key tips and tricks that you guys can definitely incorporate into your own gameplay. Yet again, guys, you are seeing me time and time again cycle the 3 Musketeers in the back. I'm not applying too much pressure to the right-hand lane. I'm just chilling. There's nothing really to do. If I drop those 3 Musketeers, essentially it's area control, so he's not able to do anything about it, right? So he's not able to drop Goblin Barrel, he's not able to drop Goblin Gang, he's not able to pressure the left-hand lane until those 2 Musketeers are dead. And that just bought me so much time. I'm back to another set of 3 Musketeers. I'm cycling 2 more in the left-hand lane. At this point, I've really realized that he doesn't have poison. He doesn't have any direct source of damage, so I can safely just drop that in the back and not really care. I played this pretty poorly, actually, right here. I dropped a Bandit, I dropped Dark Prince right on top of the Princess. They just died, but it didn't really matter in this situation. I was just trying to defend very vigorously. He's going to go in with a Barrel, and he's also going to go in with a Miner. I just go in for a Zap, King Tower activated, cleans everything up, and that's going to be a GG and well played to this man. So 3 Musketeers in the middle just for the parade push, and we got 5 Muskies on the tower. Pretty sick, guys. So basically the key concept is I ate damage. I ended up defending my pump from the Miner. I identified that he did not have Princess and Cycle. I dropped my Minion Horde at the bridge to kill his Princess, and then I went in for a Miner. Miner was tanking. I was hovering Zap for his Minion Horde or whatever he had, and he lost the game. So just make sure that you're always cognizant of what your opponent's running. You identify what they have, and then punish them when they have cards out of Cycle and when you have an elixir advantage. Time and time again, I can't stress that enough. So going into the next game, this is going to be a 3 Musketeer mirror matchup. This is actually going to be a pretty difficult matchup if you guys are not familiar with this, one of the biggest things that you don't want to do is drop your 3 Musketeers. It's all about pumping up. Damage early on in this matchup does not matter at all. If I take 1,000 damage early on and I have 2 pumps, I automatically pretty much win the game. I don't care. Maybe even 2,000 damage and I have 2 pumps. Sometimes I just automatically win just because of elixir advantage. I went in for the bandit in the back. I thought that I was going to go charge and hit his miner a little bit earlier. Unfortunate for me, but another thing is you never want to be the first person to drop your miner. If you're the first person to drop your miner, I defended it, right? And then I had a huge counter push because I dropped Dark Prince, I had bandit, I killed his miner, and then he had less elixir to defend my miner and my counter push because he dropped his miner first. So if that makes any sense, you always want to be the second person to drop your miner if you guys can help it in this mirror matchup. So unfortunately, I had to drop my pump in the back, and I didn't really have a great situation. You always want to drop it in the middle if you guys can, but I was forced to drop it earlier because I didn't want to leak elixir. So here he's in a horrible situation. He either has to support his minion horde or he has to support and kill my pump. He did the correct decision by actually going for the pump. If he didn't, I was just going to go in for Ice Golem and then zap. Minion horde just dies. I ignore the miner. So time and time again, if he doesn't have miner and cycle, just pump up and you're chilling. He's going to be livid right now. He has to cycle an Ice Golem. Then he has to get to the collector. And I'm just going to be up so much. So this is probably the key point in the match. He cycled his Ice Golem. So what do you have to kill a minion horde? You have absolutely nothing. I'm going to go opposite lane with a bandit, Ice Golem, and then also minion horde, and he loses the left-hand tower. There's nothing. You got to have zap and Ice Golem to kill this when you're at low amounts of elixir, and he drops Dark Prince. I'm just going to go in for a miner on top of the collector. I'm going to take his tower, and I'm also going to take the collector in one fell swoop. So this is really dirty, disgusting play. Minion horde just completely encapsulates the tower, kills his collector, and then this guy has crippling depression. So Minion Horde is pretty OP if you guys have not figured that out already. You just have to play it correctly. And I know I've jokingly said that Minion Horde is like a skill horde, but it actually is kind of skillful when you play it correctly. It just really takes the correct ability to... It just really takes the ability to be cognizant of your opponent's elixir at all times and what they have. Just identifying a lot of the matchups, knowing when they don't have a correct card in cycle, like if they don't have Princess or Ice Golem and they're low on elixir, punish them. See what they have in cycle. So he doesn't really have anything. When you're up elixir, you can just play 3 Musketeers in the back and just take the W. That's one of the biggest things. In the mirror matchup, you don't really want to be dropping 3 Musketeers, but with 19 seconds left, I just did it and I got away with it. Usually, you just want to be holding on to 3 Musketeers. After your opponent drops their 3 Musketeers, you drop your own 3 Musketeers and mirror it, and then you're fighting on on your side of the map. You can support your 2 Musketeers or your Musketeers a little bit easier then, simply because of that. So next, let's go cover my Miner Poison matchup. This guy is running a really oddball deck with Minion Horde, Bait, with Goblin Gang, and Spear Goblin Stevens. He's got so many Stevens, man. He's saucing out the good luck as well, so you already know, fam. Alright, so looking at my starting hand, this is one of the first times I don't have Elixir Collector. Probably going to be cycling Ice Golem or Bandit in the back. Kind of just waiting because it's a late challenge. I wanted to get that 20-0. I didn't want to cycle anything and get out of cycle with this man, so sometimes you just want to be really, really patient if you want to take the W. I split my Musketeers because I see him dropping 5 Elixir in the back, and I feel like the Musketeers would kill that and then give me a lot of counter push potential. Usually you can drop your Musketeers if you're going to kill 5 or more Elixir in single Elixir, because then the counter push, it's very hard for them to adequately defend with just a deficit of 4, and then being able to have a huge counter push and punish you too much. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb. If you can kill 4 or 5 Elixir or more in single Elixir, drop your 3 Musketeers and counter push. So he sauces out a WoW. At this point, I'm just freaking out. I'm like, what is this deck? Does he actually have Goblin Barrel? So I was a little bit worried about that. I end up going for my pump. I know that I have Dark Prince in hand. I always go in for the middle because guess what, guys? You got to make sure that you defend the pump. Unfortunately, we don't defend the pump. If I defended the pump right there, I would have been at a huge Elixir advantage, and I would have eaten up those Spear Goblins. You guys will see time and time again in almost every single replay, just make sure that you defend the pump. And I'm not afraid to go in for my Minion Horde. If I bait out a poison, sure, it's going to be a negative trade for me, but guess what, guys? Then he doesn't have poison in cycle for the 3 Musketeers. He doesn't have it in cycle for the pump. If he doesn't have it in cycle for the pump, then he has to get a miner on top of my pump. And then I'm going to make up the elixir by that, because not only is the miner going to get caught by a bandit or a Dark Prince, the miner is actually just not going to do anything for him, right? Like, I'll have counter push potential, and it's not going to mitigate any damage from the collector. So I'm going to get the elixir advantage back by the collector. Applying a lot of pressure because he doesn't have poison in cycle. I see the Minion Horde for the first time. I go in for a zap immediately on top of it. And wow, so my bandit's going on through. He is eating a lot of damage here. He's down elixir, and he didn't cost efficiently defend against those 3 musketeers. He sustained massive damage on the right-hand side. So guys, that's the type of interaction that you guys want to keep having. And he went in for a miner and a poison. So in retrospect, that miner was actually dropped earlier. So if I was completely aware of that, I wouldn't have actually even dropped my Dark Prince. I would have just let him go in for the miner poison and just see what he wanted to do. Because the Dark Prince, it got too much damage from the poison, really wasn't worth it. If I was on top of my game, that was one very slight mistake. If you guys know the timing of the miner, you can sometimes identify if it was dropped before they dropped your collector. And if it's dropped before you drop the collector, then obviously you don't have to respond to it, because there's no way he's going to predict on top of your collector if he doesn't know where it is, right? So Muskie's actually going to get a hit. That's a lot of damage for me, guys. I'm just getting the collectors up. That's the first and foremost every single time. He's dropping Spear Goblins. I'm just going to go in for Ice Golem. He's dropping a Tesla. You know at this point that he's really, really shaking in his boots. He's going in for a miner on the tower. At this point, I really know that he's trying to chip me out. He is not caring about the collectors. He's trying to go in for all the damage he can get. And the Musketeers, yet again, guys, killed a lot. Killed a minion horde, killed an Ice Golem. That's 7 elixir, and then I have a counter push. Definitely take that. He went in for a poison on top of the 2 Musketeers, so that frees up a lot for me. I can go in for a minion horde. He still has Tesla. Tesla is really broken. It ends up killing minions in 1 hit. Makes me a very sad panda, but still we're doing regardless really well. He's going to go in for another miner with the Spear Goblins. The Stevens penetrating my heart and my soul. Just going to go in for a bandit to counteract the miner. And he's going in for the same miner placement. You always have to be cognizant of what they're doing. I know that I'm up a lot of elixir. Kind of wanted to just go in for the 3 muskies at the bridge. Usually not the best play, but in this situation, I wasn't going to be able to break through any other way, since my minion horde just gets destroyed by Tesla and also his own minion horde. He had a lot of answers to minion horde. So I was just really scared about that. I want to go in for the 3 musketeers to occupy him, and then also go in for the miner. So I was going to be aware that he was probably going to spend all of his elixir on the 3 musketeers, and if he did, then my miner would have free reign and maybe get like 300, 400 chip damage. Usually that's not the thing that you want to do. Sometimes in single elixir, dropping it at the river, if they go in for a fireball right on top of your collector, and then you drop a battle ram or a bandit or a dark prince in the back, then you can drop your 3 musketeers at the river. That's sometimes a good situation, and that sometimes works out really well. AK does that. I do that. All the better 3 musketeer players do end up doing that in single elixir. Just in double elixir, when you identify what they're running, it's sometimes risky, but it was just really situational and ended up working out there. So let's quickly go jump into the next game after that. This is going to be basically the same concept against all the Zap bait decks. When they have the princess out of cycle, you just punish them. I'll show you guys what I mean by that yet again. So unfortunately, I don't have collector. We're going to speed this one up a little. He's saucing out the wows. He's going in for the barrel. Fortunately for us, the Dark Prince just does so well against barrel. If you drop it in the back, sometimes it can hit all 3 of the goblins at 1 hit. So that's a timing. If you guys are able to predict it, it definitely works out really well. Using Ice Golem to kite Dark Princes and bridge spam opposite lane is very imperative. I'm going to pump up again. He's going to poison it and drop his princess. So you guys already know what's about to happen. I'm actually going to eat this entire barrel too. That's something that I'm not really afraid to do when I know that I can just take the W. Notice what happens here, guys. It's going to be pretty gruesome. So he's going to go in for the princess. I let the princess lock on. I go in for the minion horde. I go in for a miner. This guy, actually, he has NATO, he has Dark Prince, he has princess, and then he has poison. So this is a supreme hard counter. He also has goblin barrel, and I have zap. You gotta just abuse it. Sometimes you have to eat damage when they have so many answers to you. You really only can win if you get all of their counters out of cycle, and then you also just get an elixir advantage. It's really hard to do, but you can navigate a lot of hard counters, and that's why I really like 3 musketeers. Sometimes, like that Pekka deck that I was really liking for quite a while, it's impossible to actually beat a Lava Loon player if they play correctly. So this is why I really like 3 musketeers. Sometimes, no matter what, if you get an elixir advantage, you can take the W. And that's just one of the things. No matter what they're running, you always have a shot with 3M. And that's why in the 20-win challenge, I was able to go 20-0 with it, and I was able to overcome some very, very difficult matchups. So let's just speed this one up. He's going to just keep spamming me. It doesn't really matter. I'm dropping 3 musketeers on defense. Always drop your 3 musketeers on defense. I split 2 of them towards the left-hand tower because I wanted to make sure that I was actually going to kill the goblin barrel. And yeah, easy dub. So jumping into the game before that, this is a very, very easy matchup because he has log, but I'll show you guys it regardless because you'll be playing this maybe 50% of your matchups. So we're going to go on 2x on this as well. He's going to be dropping his Pekka in the back probably. He's going to be dropping Spear Goblin Hut. So he drops Spear Goblin Hut. Very interesting play to do it right at the start. I'm going to be dropping my Dark Prince, and he's going to be going in for a Royal Ghost. As soon as I see Royal Ghost, I've identified that he's probably running this deck. You see Royal Ghost and you see Spear Goblin Hut. It could be Golem, but for the most part, it's going to be that. And here we go. So he poisons the minion horde. Sure, it's going to be a positive trade, but now he doesn't have an answer for the collector. He also drops a miner on defense. So when they don't have miner and when they don't have poison and cycle, free pump, easiest decision of my life. Didn't even have to think about it. He's going to be going really hard in the paint with the flying machine, and also I bet I did mess up here. So notice how the flying machine was not stopped inside vicinity of my tower shooting at it, and yeah, it was pretty difficult. Another thing, this is something that I really want to stress. Sometimes when they do a better Goblin Hut placement, like when they drop it further up, you actually have to go in for a miner on top of the Goblin Hut instead of on the tower. In this situation, he did the worst Goblin Hut of 2018, so I was able to bypass everything, and he sustained critical damage. This is usually what you want to do. If you guys can, you just go in for Miner Minion Horde as soon as you've identified that they only have Log. They lose the game automatically after they use Poison because Zappies, they don't do very well. And if you can deal with the Spear Goblin Hut, you got to go for a Miner on top of the Spear Goblin Hut because they can just pull things towards the Spear Goblin Hut, and then you lose if they go in for a Zap. So it's a little bit difficult, but in this situation, if they drop it too far off to the side, you can just bypass it, go for a miner on the tower, and then just bypass it with the minions. He also went in for another poison, so it's not too scary. Let's just speed this one up. I think that he didn't really do anything for the rest of the game. I'm just splitting 3 Musketeers on defense, always 2 towards the side that he doesn't really want to go to. And I was going to kite everything with an Ice Golem in the left-hand lane towards the 2 Musketeers if possible. Very sad Panda. Difficult matchup for him, and we ended up taking the W. So, other matchups that we want to go over. Graveyard is ridiculously easy. We will go over it, though, just for you guys if you were wondering. I don't think that I played this very well at the start, but we still ended up capturing the W because it's actually impossible to lose against Graveyard if you play this deck correctly. Like, physically impossible. In Double Elixir, they won't be able to break through 3 Musketeers. You just continuously split 3 Musketeers, and then they automatically lose the game. So he's going to go in for a Poison. He's going in for Ice Golem. I've identified that he's either going to be running Graveyard or Musketeer or Miner Poison, rather. See, Cannon Cart, definitely going to be Graveyard. And this is where I botch up. Notice how my Minion Horde just completely died. I actually had to use Ice Golem to push the Cannon Cart. The Cannon Cart was locked on my tower, and notice how the Ice Golem, it pushes the Cannon Cart back, and that saved my life. I was like, I really hope this works. Ended up working out, and sometimes you got to be really innovative with that Ice Golem. Ice Golem is one of the key cards in this deck. Kites all the bridge spam opposite lane. It pushes back Cannon Carts or anything on top of your tower, and it can just make or break a lot of games for you. So he's going to go in for Cannon Cart. He's going to go in for Graveyard. In retrospect, obviously should have dropped the Bandit right on top of the Cannon Cart and the Dark Prince on top of the Skeletons. I don't know why I did that. Series of interactions where you always want the Dark Prince on top of the squishy units and the Bandit on top of the unit that you got to be doing DPS to. So something that I messed up on. Definitely could have done better. He goes in for a Poison. Notice how my towers are really low, but I really don't care because I'm up a lot of Elixir. Here's another thing that you guys probably want to do when you're up Elixir. Go in for the Dark Prince in the back, and then you can split your 2 Musketeers towards the Dark Prince, and you split them at the river, and you just apply so much more pressure. I didn't give him any time to build up an Elixir advantage, get back to Poison, and he got Raffle stumped. There's nothing you can do against 3 Musketeers. As you guys can see, I was at a little bit of a deficit with my towers, but it just doesn't matter. I played this horribly. I made like 3 or 4 misplays. I let the Cannon Cart lock on. I utilized Dark Prince and Bandit incorrectly, and I just still won because this is an incredibly easy matchup. So every single time you play against Graveyard, you're going to automatically win. You should win against the 3 Musketeer mirror matchups if you just make sure that you go in for Miner secondary and don't drop your 3 Musketeers early on. There's just so many great matchups, and sometimes you'll play against Logbait, but as I showed you guys, you can easily win that as well. You have a pretty easy matchup against all those Pekka decks. As long as they have Log, it's an auto win, but Zap, you just got to make sure that you're minering on top of the Spear Goblin Hut. There's a lot of things like that, and you guys will definitely figure it out as you keep playing this deck. I'm sure that you guys have identified the importance of just getting the Elixir advantage and just punishing when they don't have the correct cards in cycle. So let's go jump right into another game against Bridge Spam. Bridge Spam with Fireball is probably a deck that you're going to be seeing a lot. It's a little bit annoying because if they're running this, they lose the Graveyard automatically because they don't really have an answer to... They don't have Poison right for the Graveyard. So anyone that's running Fireball, it kind of annoys me. It triggers me on a spiritual level. So let's just get that out of the way and say that. So we're going to go in for an Ice Golem in the back. The big key concept to winning this matchup is not cycling your Ice Golem at the start. It's pretty annoying to actually have that happen. I didn't have a great answer to the Dark Prince here. I actually have to drop Bandit, and he goes in for a Fireball as well. So keeping the Musketeers alive is really solid, though, because he always has to respond to those. Now he has 2 Musketeers, a Bandit that he doesn't want to really have to deal with. He's going to be dropping minions. Minions are going to die to the 2 Musketeers. Keeping those Musketeers alive even if you have to go in for a minor, sometimes I should have went in for a minor. So in retrospect, if I went in for a minor, keeping those alive, I would have been able to cycle back to a pump. I still have to cycle a card right now regardless. I'm going to have to cycle my minor anyway. So sometimes you want to really think further ahead. In that situation, I made a slight misplay, but it wasn't too bad in the grand scheme of things. And I identify that he's got Fireball and he's got Bridge Spam, right? But what are you going to do to a minion horde when your Fireball's out of cycle and you have already spent all of your elixir on Bridge Spamming me? There's no way that you have any more elixir for minions plus zap to kill my minion horde. Sure, you're going to zap them, but you don't actually have a great way of dealing with it. I've already identified that he has Bridge Spam. I know what he's rocking. Just going to pumping up in the back when they actually have minor is really bad, but I've identified that he doesn't have minor. He's just Bridge Spamming me pretty vigorously. I don't want to go pump up in the middle. If you pump up in the middle against Bridge Spam, then guess what happens? They're going to be able to get some absurd Fireball value. He would actually be able to Fireball the Bandit and the Pump in one fell swoop, and I don't want that to happen. So he's going to go in for some Fireball on top of the Dark Prince and then also the Bandit. Very oddball play, but you guys are going to see you get the elixir advantage despite me be down a lot of tower damage at the moment. It doesn't really matter. The minion horde right there was a little bit clumsy. It wasn't too bad, but I really wanted to go in for a minor as well, so I should have dropped it further back, then actually killed the minions, had them alive a little bit longer, and then the minions would have crossed the river. I would have had time to go in for a minor, and then he would have had to drop Ice Golem, another 2 elixir that he would have had to spend there. But time and time again, guys, dropping the 3 Musketeers on defense, getting more value there, not allowing him to touch my Musketeers, he actually gave me some absurd value, knocking one of the Musketeers in the opposite lane. Wow, actually, what the... I don't even remember how that third one got in the left-hand lane, but that was insane. I guess that one is dazed and confused. I don't even understand. Regardless, guys, he just lost his tower because he overcommitted on defense, or overcommitted on offense. My defensive Musketeers converted defense into offense, and I just captured the W. When they drop their Fireball and they don't actually have an answer to Minion Horde, they stockpile units at the bridge, you're just going for Minion Horde, and there's no way for him to ever break through. If you dropped Ice Golem in front of that and went for Zap, you always drop the Minion Horde behind the bridge spam, and then it doesn't really break through. Usually, I like dropping my 3 Musketeers, though, because if you drop 3 Musketeers and they Fireball Zap, then they don't have something for the Minion Horde, or they don't have something for the Pump, and you're able to get value otherwise, or in other situations after. So the actual last thing that I wanted to show you guys was the first game of my entire run. I was falling out of my seat laughing at this play. This guy transcends God status. I don't even have words to describe it. I was in call with Jewel, and he can attest for how loud I was laughing. I could not stop laughing, and I almost wasn't even able to play this game after this guy made this play. Your bodies are not prepared for what you're about to see. You might need to shield your eyes just a little bit. So he drops the Collector. He's going to be dropping minions in the back, and then you're not ready for this play. I couldn't have done this if I even tried to. I don't know how he gave me this much spell value, but here it is. He literally, we gotta go 0.5 speed for this glory. He's gonna go drop the Minion Horde right next to the Collector and the minions that he splits in the back. I've never seen anything like that before. I don't even know how Zap's radius hit all of that, especially since the minions dispersed, but it worked out beautifully for me. And it was too funny, guys. That was probably the most favorite part of the entire challenge. It started off so well for me, and I was just laughing. This deck is just so OP, guys, and I really hope that you guys enjoy it in your GC runs or in your 20-win challenge. If you guys still have time in your 20-win challenge, highly suggest this deck. Test it out, learn it. If you don't actually play 3 Musketeers already, I think that it's a great archetype to pick up. It will really work out well for you guys in Tournament Standard, in GCs, 20-win challenges, and it makes you a better player because you're going to be identifying when your opponent doesn't have cards in rotation, when they don't have adequate elixir amounts, and it just gets you really into the competitive scene. So I highly suggest you guys check out this deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this type of video. Make sure to let me know down below in the comments section. Leave me a fat thumbs up and sub if you guys aren't already a part of the prestigious Society of Sirs. I would love to have you. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for chilling with me, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Peace out.